We obviously have a great partnership with LiveRamp, long-standing partnership, but which we announced an expansion of in the fall. So obviously here to support one of our top partners. But really what we're here to do is to talk about Source. We launched Source in the fall. It's this new initiative that MediaMath has around building an accountable and addressable supply chain. We see a world where the supply chain is broken. Brands are not reaping the benefits of what they're hoping for in the form of lack of transparency, having challenges really understanding the cost of what they're buying and where their dollars are being placed on what properties. We see a world where it's really hard for brands to have consumers, to understand consumers, and see them as people as opposed to just proliferation of devices. And we see a world where there's not really a lot of alignment right now, which is causing a lot of friction. It's hurting performance, and ultimately what happens is it's accruing more value to the walled gardens. And so it's time to start over. It's time to build a supply chain that's rooted in transparency, that's rooted in consumer privacy, and that's rooted in real alignment that will drive better results for brands and agencies and better experiences for consumers.
So these are all huge problems you've identified.
Yes.
I'm sure lots of people would share your view. What are you actually doing to fix them?
I think that's a good question. It sounds great. It sounds like this amazing, ambitious objective that we have, but we're actually doing it. So we announced in the fall, we actually have brands running on this new supply chain right now, and the only way it really works is with partners. So we announced partnerships with Rubicon and Telaria, who are our entryway to content providers. We announced with LiveRamp and with another great partner of ours, Akamai, and a variety of others, including Oracle and publishers for that matter. And so what we're doing is, instead of spending a lot of time talking about it, we planted a flag, we're building it. We've built sort of the first version of it that we have brands live and running right now and seeing great outcomes. And now we're going to keep iterating over time because we want the whole industry to adopt this new framework and this new approach to advertising. The first principle that we're focused on is accountability. The way we think about accountability is radical fee transparency, so that when a brand places $1 with us, they see all the way through the supply chain exactly how much everything costs. Okay, number one, we're opening up all of our fees for all of our customers. Number two, we're doing the same thing on the supplier side with Rubicon and publishers. So that's one example. But what we're also doing is we're building new infrastructure to support the buying of accountable advertising with Rubicon, and we'll do it with Telaria, and we're in talks with other SSPs about doing this, where we're actually building real infrastructure to actually make this happen.
Great examples.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk here at Ramp Up 2020 about obviously the shift to a cookieless environment, about the incredible importance now of first-party data. How do those sort of market changes feed into what you're proposing? How have they driven your thinking in this area?
Yeah, so this is actually one of the reasons why we launched Source. We saw the writing on the wall, and we've been thinking about it for the past couple years about we need to go to a new paradigm, a new sort of approach to addressable advertising that prioritizes consumer privacy and obviously supports all the applicable laws that are being rolled out. So when I talk about Source, we talked about accountability. The second principle is addressability. So we have to stop treating consumers as devices. We have to treat consumers as people who understand the value exchange for content with advertising, but don't want their data stolen, are okay with working with companies who properly handle consent in exchange for great advertising experiences and great content. But I think there's a lot of frustration right now from consumers because they feel as if they don't have the trust, and a lot of these companies are taking advantage of compliance as opposed to really driving for consumers to sort of control their own data. And so an example of what we're doing around addressability is we've rebuilt our entire identity infrastructure, which will enable brands to leverage any third-party company that they view as providing the best capabilities in a privacy-friendly way for them to make a connection with their customer. One example of that is LiveRamp. So we've partnered with LiveRamp. And the goal is to expand that relationship and then to pull in other partners who have great identity-based, privacy-friendly, consent-driven solutions that our infrastructure will enable the best resolution for brands to consumers in a privacy-friendly way.
Do you think the way that the industry's approach to consent developed during the 2010s has led us to where we are today, to a situation in which many people would argue that consent is broken, that we need a radical rethink of the way we generate and maintain consent for the kinds of relevant advertising that consumers often are quite happy to accept as long as it's done in the right way? Do we need a radical rethink?
I don't know if it's a radical rethink as much as it's a practical rethink. And practically speaking, consumers should own their consent. It shouldn't be owned by a browser. It shouldn't be owned by a third-party company. Consumers should be the ones that are controlling who their data is shared with, when and how. And I think if that is what happens, I think we will get to a place where there will be a proper value exchange for advertising. But right now, it's horribly opaque. The idea that your email address is going to become the end-all be-all for authenticated consent, I don't know if that's the optimal approach. I like some of the capabilities that are in the market right now, but ultimately we feel at MediaMath that consumers should own their own consent.
And it sounds like the supply chain, the ecosystem you're building around it is, in your view, a genuine step forwards. It helps to address and solve some of these problems.
Yeah, absolutely. But it has to be simple, right? So we've really focused on these three core principles of accountability, addressability, and then alignment. Alignment is really around sharing of information back and forth between brands and publishers or content owners, so that each knows what matters to each other. I think the past 10 years of programmatic, what's happened is technology companies have created a ton of amazing capabilities, but it's ultimately pushed brands and publishers farther away from each other, with tech sort of writing their own requirements. Through source and through radical alignment, the goal is let's bring brands and publishers actually closer together. Let's understand what their requirements are, and then let's actually build technology that supports their interest as opposed to ours. And ultimately, we want to become an enabler through technology of building better experiences, better outcomes for brands and publishers. And so by focusing on three principles, as opposed to trying to bite off 100 different items, we think that the simplicity of it and what it stands for and what we're working on will actually help drive this industry forward.